McPherson from Circleville, Ohio. On a tractor he calls the Bean Bandit, and it's powered by 2 blown motors. We'll see a combination of motors and other power plants used here this evening. Richard McPherson getting attached to the sled now. Now, the large area that contains the Budweiser cans is full of weight, and as that weight moves forward on the sled, it becomes more difficult to pull by the tractor. And of course, each of the drivers is shooting for 195 feet. That's the length of the runway here, and everybody that has a 195-foot run has a full pull. Richard McPherson now getting set on the Bean Bandit. Awesome display of noise, but not much as far as distance is concerned. Richard is well short of the 195-foot distance. We'll wait for his official distance that'll be coming up here in just a moment. We take a replay of it and see that Richard kept it pretty much in the center of the runway. However, just not quite enough power to pull the sled the full distance. It is 125 feet, a little over 125 feet for Richard McPherson, so he's considerably short of the full distance. Now getting ready on Rambunctious is Milton Bergman from Fort Recovery, Ohio. Milton's tractor is powered by 2 V12 Allison engines. He's backing up, and the sled is attached by a couple of very large chains, and there are also some safety cables that are attached to the tractor. In case anything should go wrong, the sled will not come forward and hit the tractor and injure the driver in any way. Now, if we do have, or when we have full pulls, I should say, there will be more weight added to the sled for our second round of competition here this evening. But we're in our preliminary round right now. Second puller of the evening. This is Milton Bergman on Rambunctious. Here's a good look at Milton from Fort Recovery, Ohio, which is in the extreme western portion of the state of Ohio near the Indiana line. Signal being given at the other end, and he is ready to go. Here's Bergman. Again, it's a good pull, but not quite the full distance. You see the official there waving the red flag, indicating that the run is over, but it's a few feet short of a full pull distance. It is a good one, however. Milton Bergman on Rambunctious pulling the sled to within, I would say, about 10 feet of the end. Here is a replay of the run. You see those engines working for him, but it just wasn't quite enough to get him the 195-foot length. And the distance is coming in now. It's 184.8 for Milton Bergman, so about 10 feet short of the 195-foot distance. Third puller of the evening getting set to go now is Mike Hoff. Mike is from Westminster, Maryland. He is on a tractor called Big Blue 2. It's a 1983 modified tractor with a couple of, matter of fact, 3 KB engines sitting in front of him. Takes a lot of coordination to get these engines to run together so that they are all working for him. Taking up the slack now with a chain, getting set to go. Mike Hoff, he has won this event the last 2 consecutive years. Here he goes. It's going to be a full pull for Mike Hoff. A good run. As you could see, the sled had come to the extreme front. The weight had come to the extreme front of the sled, and there is the indication to the thousands of fans gathered here tonight. It is a full pull, and Mike Hoff becomes our first full puller of the evening. A replay shows that he kept the tractor right in the middle of the course. The front end comes up off the ground just slightly, but not enough to make any difference. And Mike Hoff gets the entire distance that he's looking for here this evening. So he goes into the pull-off, and I'm sure we'll have more that will be in the pull-off later this evening. There is not only tractor pulling going on here, but also some grandstanding going on by the vehicles that smooth out the track. The driver of the Bobcat showing us a little bit of well, shall we say, grandstanding. We'll be right back with more from St. Louis. If you own a accelerator, but also you have to hit the brakes once in a while, you've got to keep that tractor within bounds, pulling it down the line. Our next puller this evening will be Jan Schmiesing from Sydney, Ohio. Jan is on a tractor called the BIONIC BUZZARD. A couple of engines in front of him. One is a Ford 5000 Allison and the other a 460 Ford. You know, I guess you could say the tractor pulling is an outgrowth of horse pulling. Farmers used to bring their horses into the county fairs each fall to compete to see whose horse could pull the furthest, and tractor pulling then came along. This is an outgrowth of tractor pulling, but certainly these tractors are not used on the farm. They are specially designed and specially built for just this particular sport. Jan Schmiesing gets ready to go now on the BIONIC BUZZARD. The tractor almost going out of bounds to the right, so Jan shuts it off. Not quite the distance that he had wanted out of the BIONIC BUZZARD. You can see from the very beginning as we take a look at it again that the tractor had a tendency to pull to the right. And Jan almost got the front wheels of the tractor out of bounds. You can see the out of bounds line there marked with the chalk line and the pylon. He was a few feet from the out of bound line when he decided to shut it off. The distance is just a little over 143 feet for Jan Schmiesing. Well, coming up next, a name that all auto racing and speed freaks should be familiar with, Art ARFONS. He has been in this sport for several years, and a little bit earlier, we had an opportunity to talk with this legend, Art ARFONS. Art, you've been playing around with this jet engine now for several years. Is it the engine that you think is what it should be?
It's the one I like.
Why?
A lot less maintenance, and I don't want to work on it all week, just around on a weekend.
Do you have a weight disadvantage over some of the other competitors here tonight?
No. I made my own disadvantage by putting two engines on. I don't have the weight to play with to balance out right, but I'm getting around it.
As far as learning how to drive a jet-powered tractor, is it different than a conventional engine?
I believe it's a little easier.
In what way? Is there less torque or that type of thing?
Well, it has an air-type clutch that you can't overheat by slipping it, and if you get a track where you want to slip it all the way, you can.
Art ARFONS is getting ready to go, and that nice-looking young lady who is by his side is his daughter, Dusty, who's also involved in tractor pulling. The noise of these jet engines is unbelievable. Art ARFONS on the Green Monster. The power plant is a T64 turbine. Here he goes. Just a tremendous amount of power involved in this tractor, but he does not get it down to the 195-foot mark. You noticed all the way the front wheels were up off the ground as Art bounced down the straightaway. There's his daughter, Dusty, who'll be going to his father's side to find out exactly what the problem was. Here's the replay. Notice how the tractor bounces down the strip, and Art winding up several feet short of the 195-foot full pull distance. Art not particularly happy with that pull. It's almost 147 feet, but not enough to get him into the pull-off. Art ARFONS from Akron, Ohio on the Green Monster. You can still see some fire coming out of that turbine engine. Now they're going to have to get the sled detached from the tractor. You can see that he dug quite a hole there in the track itself. Remember, there is about 8 or 10 inches of this wet clay and sand and lime combination, and then some plywood beneath that. As we get ready now for our next puller of the evening, this is Steve JASKE from New Berlin, Wisconsin. The tractor's name, the Blazing Bison, and the power plants used on this tractor, 3 582 Arius engines. Steve JASKE from New Berlin, Wisconsin is now ready to go. think it's going to be a good run. Gets the tractor over to the right and is within a few feet of the out-of-bounds marker. However, it's a good pull, not quite the full distance, but I would say probably our second or third best of the night. Remember, we've only had one full puller. That was Mike Hoff. After that, Milton Bergman has been our second furthest puller at 184 feet. Now let's take a look at the sled. You can see as the tractor moves down the line, the sled comes forward, thus creating more weight for the tractor to pull. And it almost reached the entire distance before Steve shut it off, indicating that it was a good distance. It is a little over 183 feet, so about 12 feet short of the full distance. A good run for Steve Jaske, but not quite the full distance. So as Steve moves back to the pit area here, we will take this break and be right back with more of the U.S. Hot Rod Association Tractor Pulling Championships from St. Louis.
In just a few
Hot dogs and popcorn.